Welcome to BibleStudyAuthor.com. My name is Ariel. I am your virtual coach. You may be here because someone has given you one of these. I'm so happy you decided to check us out. This video is to answer a question, a big question. Why should I study this lesson? There's a big reason, actually. And I think you and I can relate to that, the reason as to why we would need a lesson like this, especially nowadays. Over the past several decades, over the past several years, and maybe even after the last several months, our trust in organizations and institutions have been eroded. In the business world, in the political world, in the medical world, and other areas of life, our trust just seems to take blow after blow after blow after blow. And if we're not careful, we can find ourselves to a point where we just don't trust anybody. And we may think that that is a safe way to live. But we're humans, and trust is as a foundational part of a relationship. We need trust to have relationships. And if we choose to have no trust, then we become very lonely. You may not know the gentleman with the microphone that is crying. His name is Jimmy Swaggart. I remember him in my teens. He was in television quite a bit, riddled with scandals of soliciting prostitution, financial things, and he was weeping there asking his congregation for forgiveness. And well, he injured a lot of people's trust. Pope Benedict, he was one of the, after centuries, he was one of the first popes to step down again. It had only happened, I think, once prior to that. And why did he step down? For health reasons, but many people think that it was because he was just overwhelmed with the corruption and the immorality that was surfacing, scandal after scandal after scandal within the Roman Catholic Church. And Protestants are no different. Jimmy Swaggart and most recently, Ravi Zacharias, a Protestant Christian apologist, that after his death, a lot of unfortunate and hurtful things came to light, painful things, or things that he did that completely obliterate and completely nullify any kind of moral or ethical presentations that he has ever done because of his personal failure. So people will look at these individuals and say, it's one thing to lose trust in the medicine individuals and business individuals or politicians, but when you lose trust in individuals claiming to represent God, you don't just lose trust in pastors or priests. Eventually, you lose trust in God. So where do we go from here? We need trust for relationships. We can't just live as a trustless individual. How can we restore our capacity to trust? And what kind of a path could we go to go from no trust at all to beginning to consider trusting individuals? I want to present to you, for you to consider this. We need to differentiate between two approaches to institutions or individuals when it comes to matters of trust. We have demonstration and we have evidence. You may be saying they sound synonymous. They're almost identical, aren't they? They're not. I share this definition with individuals when I try to explain what is demonstration. Demonstration is when I dictate the necessary criteria by which I will be able to believe, to trust. I demand to see what I think will lead me to trust and believe. It sounds good, but there's a hole in it. As humans, we are limited, and well, we only see things, slices of individuals, slices of institutions, and if an institution has failed in this, for example, in sexual moral things, if an institution has failed in that, well, when I see this, then I'll know I can trust you. Well, maybe they're no longer failing in that area, but what about finances? What about politics? What about power moves? And all these other areas. So by me saying, well, when I see this, then I'll know, I'm almost setting myself up for future disappointment because I cannot see the big picture of everything that is around me. I'm going to share with you from history and from the Bible an individual named King Herod. This will hopefully put some flesh and bone in what I'm trying to say. He was given evidence by God, and he actually received it. He was sent a messenger, a prophet named John the Baptizer. And it's interesting, John the Baptizer, in none of the Gospels, register any miracles that he did. He didn't heal anyone. He didn't do anything supernatural. All John the Baptist did is preach. And that was the evidence that convicted Herod. Here's someone that I can trust. And you may think King Herod was a nice guy because he was the king of Israel. No, no, no. Super corrupt, surrounded by super corrupted individuals. And so he was constantly looking behind his shoulder. He knew he couldn't trust anyone. But when John the Baptizer came into his life, he heard there were things being spoken that appealed to his reason and to his intelligence that what I'm hearing, I can trust. The tragedy is that he rejected this evidence. He rejected this evidence and he killed eventually John the Baptizer because the evidence hit too close to home. King Herod was not the only one that had this problem. Matthew 12:38-39 says, Then some of the scribes and Pharisees answered, saying, Teacher, we want to see a sign from you. But he answered and said to them, An evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign will be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. I hope you see the pattern here. King Herod rejected the messages God was giving him through the prophet John the Baptizer. No miracles, but messages, prophetic messages. And here Jesus is saying, you keep demanding demonstrations because you keep rejecting evidence. They are prophetic things, prophetic messages that I have provided for you. But if you reject those, what more can I give you? This is where lesson number 1 really shines, because the entire lesson 1 is based on and looking at and examining God's prophetic message that does not need miraculous manifestations, miraculous things taking place before our eyes. The prophetic messages will speak, will give self-witness to our hearts and minds that what we are hearing, what we are listening, can be trusted. History provides for us many appeals in regards to demonstration and trust. Harry Houdini made his name, fame, and wealth based on being able to give demonstrations of him being able to unshackle himself and set himself free. But something happened in his life. His mom passed away. And once he lost his mom, it was a big emotional blow for Harry Houdini. He wanted someone that could actually allow him to communicate again with his mom so desperately. And so he began to ask around, and of course, that was the big rage during his time, where all the social elites would be going to these places called, to these events called seances. And of course, individuals had gone and experienced their senses, their eyes, their hearing. They were astounded by what these clairvoyants, these mediums were able to do. And so they would tell Harry Houdini, this is the legit, this is the real deal over here. But when Harry Houdini would go there, wanting to be able to communicate with his mom, he was able to discern that they were charlatans and fakes and just individuals that were able to provide the demonstrations people wanted to see. But it was fake. I hope you will take advantage of this opportunity to get acquainted with God's prophetic evidences of why you could trust Him. I hope you will take advantage and study lesson number 1. This lesson is free. You can request for it to be sent to you to your home, delivered to your home. You can study online. All the links will be provided for you in lesson number 1. The link for it will come shortly, actually that way. But I hope you will listen to it. I hope you will watch it. I hope you will study this, because God is wanting you to not live your life not knowing who you can trust. At least He wants you to know you can trust Him. And the evidence is the prophetic study found in lesson number 1. I hope to see you there.